believe it or not, and most people think that's all I've ever done, but my first gig in wrestling was back in '89 as a ring announcer. So that was actually my start was ring announcing, and then one night there wasn't a referee, and it was kind of baptism by fire with an NPW show.
1995. Wow.
Yeah, you guys probably weren't born back then, were you? Maybe you were, Jesse, but
yeah.
I was born in 2002, so was it 7 years after?
Yeah, well, those are the black and white days, I guess, when I got started.
Before social media and before
8-track players and payphones. That's kind of how we all did our thing.
Yeah. Back in the olden days, I talked to my dad all the time. He had a camera back then. He recorded this entire trip that he went on. I'm like, that footage is just like all shaky and old. I'm like,
just the old 8mm, I would assume. The 8mm camera,
yeah. Life has definitely changed since back then, and especially with wrestling. So,
definitely, some say for the better, some say for not. I'm from the school that everything evolves, kind of like we talked about. Now you got a camera on your phone, and you can pretty much tape and download everything off of that. Internet, obviously, the way we communicate is just, the world evolves and you need to evolve with it. And it's a matter of opinion if it's good or bad, but it is what it is. And you just try to make the best of it.
Right. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, Jaron, do you have a question for Jay?
Yeah, I can start off. So, got a list right here. So let's start off with I guess you kind of talked about it already about how you started, or when you started, but how did you originally get started with being a pro wrestling referee? And I guess you answered the question, how long have you done it? So basically, how did you get started?
Back in the pre-Jaron days, back in I think it was 87, 88, Slick Mick Karch had a show, SNR, Saturday Night Ringside. And part of his show, other than featuring local interviews as well as some national shows that weren't AAWA, it was stuff we didn't always see here. He had a trivia deal every week, and you'd send in your answer. Didn't have internet back then. You actually had to go to a post office or to your mailbox and drop it in and snail mail it. But so then the following week, he'd read off the question and the winners and whatever. And sometimes the winners would get together at a private function. He would call a Slick Mix round table, and we'd have dinner and just kind of BS about wrestling. So I got to know Mick in that regard. And then he did a deal called Ringside of the Week. So as a fan, you'd go on and talk wrestling and stuff. So I got to know Mick all right. And that's how I became exposed to indie wrestling. I had never, I'd watched AWA and WWF and whatever else was on at the time, but I didn't realize there was local shows similar to, say, like Saints baseball. You have the Twins. Everybody knows about the Twins, but you may not always know about the Saints and their players and their deals. So started going to the shows, and then, you kind of get to know people, and you become a familiar face. And one day Mick calls me up and says, "Hey, you know what? I can't make my show. I can't make a commitment for Kenny J. Would you like to go up?" And I went up and became a ring announcer, kind of baptism by fire once again. And that's where I met JB Trask, who eventually started running NPW. And I did some either broadcasting with Mick for some shows, or I was doing the ring announcing. And one night, at Delwyn Ballroom, I'll never forget it, Eddie Sharkey, who was their primary referee, was in Japan. And I don't know if they just didn't remember he wasn't going to be there or what. And all of a sudden, all the boys are like, hey, you want to ref tonight? I'm like, well. And so that's kind of, I'm wearing a pair of blue jeans and a black polo shirt. And first match, some guy in the crowd says, "Hey, I want to ref the next match," kind of taking a shot at me. But we made it work. I hope that tape has been long destroyed, but that's kind of how I got started back back in the mid '90s as far as the refereeing end of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you're just like put on the spot that night. Just, hey, ref,
Kind
we need a
of,
ref.
thankfully I was, in familiar territory. I knew a lot of the wrestlers, and I've watched it enough. I mean, obviously, when you're watching wrestling, you don't focus on the referee, but it's part of the deal.
Yeah.
So you kind of know what to do, and it's kind of staying out of the way for the most part. And so yeah, that's kind of how it went. And as I went along and got more involved, some of the guys would give me some pointers, smarten me up, and you learn more and more over the years. But I was never quote unquote formally trained. It was just kind of, I say I was a student of the game, not Triple H, but just kind of learning it and watching it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was. What is the last Steel Domain MAW event? Was a friend and I were just paying attention to the referees and their actions, and every time like a wrestler got slammed or punched, the referee just like God, and then using pretty much the facial emotions just to give it that extra effect of that. I mean, it's a wrestling move, and it's trying to get the effect of the crowd. So referees do
Exactly.
play a big role.
You kind of sell it. You're the closest one to the action. You're in the ring, and front row, ringside's a great seat too. But when you're right there and you feel the ring shake and vibrate, and you hear these guys huffing and puffing and sweating and giving it their all, you're always going to be a fan. I mean, whether you like a particular wrestler or not, or promotion or whatever, you're a fan, and there are going to be things that you react to that you don't see every day, and that's kind of what gets me, for doing this as long as I have. Every blue moon, you'll see something like, wow, I've never seen that or never seen it done that way. And I pop, in the ring, and I'll mention, hey, that was cool. Good job. So, encouragement. These guys need it.
Yeah. It definitely does. Yeah, it does definitely help when you just have the referee there, and with the experience that you have, it probably adds to the effect more. So, yeah.
And you try not to overdo it. I mean, you're not your background music, for lack of a better term. They're not here to see the referee. They're here to see the wrestlers. And I need to respect that, and I'd like to think other ring announcers, managers, referees, the support people don't interfere and let their ego or whatever they're trying to accomplish overshadow the wrestlers, and that's kind of that fine line.
Right. Yeah. You want to add in a little bit, Jesse?
That's
Oh yeah,
one time
you're good,
I
Jesse.
had Dan Jesser tell me that it's all about the audience. I mean, if the audience ain't in it, then the wrestlers aren't going to be in it. Do you agree with that statement?
The audience is a huge part of it. I mean, everybody feeds off of the audience response. That's where the adrenaline gets going. If you go out there and whether there's 50 people or 500 people and they're sitting on their hands, it's like going to church. And I'm not ripping going to church, but you're there to be involved in excitement when you're at church or
Right.
whatever. You sit there and you're quiet and you pay attention. Whereas wrestling, you want to be involved and you want to be loud, and the wrestlers truly feed on that. And part of it too, if the crowd maybe isn't into it, if they're dead, it's the wrestler's job to change that. That's why sometimes you see them get on the mic or gesture, or the bad guy might hurl an insult or whatever. And it's also it's upon the wrestlers to make that happen. So, but if for whatever reason the crowd's not responding, the match isn't getting over, then we cut it short.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 110%. It was, if I can remember correctly, it was at a show at Buck Zumos Bar where I was with a friend of mine, and my friend was just going nuts. And at the end of the night, Dan Jesser just pretty much laid it out, said, we need people like you guys coming every weekend or once a month and doing this.
I agree. I mean, it feeds off of the crowd. I mean, if one or two people can get it going, then more. I hate the wave. I totally despise the wave at sporting events, but there's always those 3 or 4 people that aren't paying a dang attention to the game, but they'll do woo and try to get the crowd going. And in a sense, that's how it is with wrestling.
Absolutely.
You get those 3 or 4 people going, and then the rest of the crowd feeds on it, and maybe one of the wrestlers will notice something, and there'll be a reaction, and it just kind of goes from there. So, obviously be respectful, watch the language. There's generally kids at these shows, but hey, you're there, yell, scream, you paid your money, you're entitled to your opinion. Just try to not cross that line and be inappropriate.
Right. And there was one time where I seen a fan literally corner the judge Randy Gusto in a bathroom, and Buck had to break that up. He didn't want no lawsuits, and Randy was ready to go after these guys.
Yeah, that's one. Randy is not one guy. I haven't seen him for a while, but yeah, he was a big, tough SOB. He was, when I first started going to the indie shows, he was one of the big draws, and he was a big boy. And last I heard, he was involved with law enforcement, like as a guard or something. Don't quote me on that. So yeah, he can more than handle himself, and that's you're gonna bump into. You're going to bump into people outside of the ring, either at the show or maybe out in public at a grocery store, restaurant, or whatever. And I think I can speak for most of them. They'll be happy to say hi and maybe answer a question or two. And if you really want to get a selfie or something, just make sure they're not eating, not in the middle of anything important with their family. But don't be a jerk. Don't be an asshole about it. Respect their time and privacy. And they're not getting paid at that moment to beat anybody up or be their wrestling persona. They're out in public and
be
just
respectful for them when they're out.
I'm sorry, Jesse. I missed that last comment.
With another question.
Okay.
Yeah, Jesse, you were cutting out. Can you repeat that last thing you said, Jesse? You were cutting out a little bit. Oh, Jesse, can you hear us?
It seems like we're having some issues with the speed.
Yeah. I can. I want to. Yeah, just expand on that too, because I've seen a couple of the wrestlers just in public. And one time I saw Mitch Paradise at WWE in July, and it was just like a quick, "Hey, how's it going?" kind of thing. And just because he was in the merch line, he probably just wanted to talk with his wife and just enjoy the WWE moment. So yeah, I think it is important to remember, just have respect, and you can still say hi, because I'm pretty sure they'll enjoy it. And I remember I met Sebastian Taylor at the AEW. I think it was Rampage, and Minneapolis, and I said hi, and he was excited that someone recognized him. So we just had a quick few minute conversation, and yeah.
These guys put a lot of time and energy into their craft and their persona, and like I say, I'm sure once again, if you're cool about it, they're happy to acknowledge you or appreciate the acknowledgement. But yeah, you just don't want to really cross that line.
Right. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we can move on to another question. So, what is your favorite Steel Domain wrestling memory / story?
This isn't probably going to shock too many people, but just back in the early days when the Chicago contingent was up here, that's what made SDW unique. They used a lot of the local talent, but they were bringing in guys that you didn't see on most shows, and there weren't as many shows back then either. There's a lot more shows and a lot more promotions now, but just seeing guys like Pierce, Cabana, Ace, Danny, Punk, all kind of cutting their teeth. And I guess one of my favorite matches was a ladder match between Ace and Punk at the Armory, West St. Paul. and just I actually have a DVD of it, but I'm sure you can find it online somehow, YouTube, whatever. But just the match itself, and then the finish, the incredible bump that Ace took from on top of the ladder in the ring to the outside through 2 tables. I mean, I honestly, and I was 10 feet away, and I'm thinking, oh my god, I don't think we had cell phones back then, but somebody get a hold of 911. But that just the energy in that building, not just for that particular show, but that whole run. It was something special, and just to see how many guys from that era, local guys, Aries, Justin Bam Neely. It wasn't just Chicago guys, but a lot of those guys went on to, national exposure, and that was awesome. I just love seeing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was yesterday. I was just watching an old episode of State of Pro Wrestling by John Fredrickson, and he did an interview with Ed Hellier, and he talked about that same event of the Armory and CM Punk and Colt Cabana and Steel the Main and everything. So cool to see just that, that it was a special moment back then, and hear another perspective from it. So.
They speaking of Punk and Cabana, they did a deal where they were fighting outside the ring, and they wound up on top of a Mountain Dew vending machine, pop machine, and I think it was a suplex. Don't quote me on that, but they did something off the top of the vending machine onto the floor. And once again, oh my God, somebody's not going to walk away from this. So, it's just some crazy stuff. And then, that's not to say there's not a lot of good things that happen in the ring, the more scientific stuff, the flippity floppity stuff and that too. But sometimes it gets a little carried away, and it just amazes me what kind of shape these guys are in to be able to do that and continue to do it and live to tell about it.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Just I think a few years ago when I first heard that Punk and Cabana and all these guys were in Steel the Main before, it was crazy to hear. And now he's doing it. A few years ago, we didn't know if Punk would ever come back to wrestling, and now he's back in AEW doing his thing, and still the biggest big time wrestler around. So it's cool to see where he's gone. And
he's back, and he can kind of call his own shots, and that's it's great. Like I say, to see these guys kind of, I don't want to say living out of their car, but kind of struggling and almost needing merch to have enough, selling merch at the show to have enough gas money to get back home. And now it's like, I don't think he's going to have to worry about money for the next couple of lifetimes. He's good to go.
Yeah. It's just crazy to hear that Punk is a teenager in Steel the Main, and now he's like 40 something, and AEW has all this money. So yeah, I think I want to I'm looking at the Facebook comments on this. There's a question from John Castro, and he says, Jay, where did you get the shirts for the FLWA shows?
Where did I get the shirts for the FL? I don't. The ones we throw out to the crowd, I don't know what he's asking about, but
I'm not sure either. What is
okay?
Well,
I got a reference. Sterling, one of my best friends in this business. He's always at shows. He's good at merch in terms of FLWA and either freebies or just taking care of the boys and back. And I probably got a million T-shirts, probably more so than any other promotion as far as FLWA. And he'd get sponsors. So what we do at these festival shows, we'd throw T-shirts with FLWA on the front and a bunch of the sponsors on the back. So Sterling hooked the boys up and hooked the crowd up through the sponsors. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's the way I understand the question, at least.
I think, now he commented saying your Hawaiian shirts, so maybe
the discount rack at the Salvation Army. I guess that's where I got those shirts.
Yeah, get any kind of shirts are always cool of any kind, just to grab around, and Hawaiian shirts are pretty cool. So yeah.
I've never been a fashion statement, and the older I get, the less I give a crap.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to another question. Talk about your working relationship with the other main owner, Ed Hellier.
We got a solid relationship. With most of the promotions, it's pretty much day of the show. When I get there, we talk and kind of bring each other up to speed. From time to time, we just check in to make sure that our dates are aligned properly and stuff. But I've known Ed. I think I started working for Ed right around 2000, right when they were transitioning from St. Paul Championship Wrestling to Steel Domain. And it's always been cordial. We're not best buddies. We don't go out and have dinner maybe every blue moon after show as a group. But we've always got along just fine. And I'm an introvert, so I'm not going to be calling people every day and picking their brain or BSing with them. So I just, like I said, we got a good deal. He knows, he gives me the dates. I show up, and we kind of just do all we can to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, even that, just to have that kind of relationship is it's cool that you guys get along and you're still able to do the Steel Domain shows after all these years. So.
Yeah, and the fact that he's been 20 plus years to do it, I mean, that's a long time for a promotion, and a successful promotion, and not a promotion that goes away for 5 years and comes back. I mean, he's been doing it pretty much nonstop. So that just tells a lot about his passion and his drive and his ability to make this work. And he's got, and I'm not putting myself over, he's got a lot of people that are along the way, and even family. I mean, people you don't even see in the ring. His wife obviously is a big supporter, allows him to do it. So there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that make it work.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let's see. How do you feel about Minnesota indie pro wrestling today?
There's a lot of talent. I think, when the academy opened up a few years ago, that just kind of made it a whole new ball game, just an influx of new talent and, the fresh blood and the excitement and maybe more fans coming out. I guess the biggest negative, I just think there's too many promotions, and I'm not saying who should or shouldn't promote. It's a free enterprise. I get that. But when you got 2 or 3 shows a day and or a weekend, and it just kind of waters it all down. Not to say that not all these shows are good. That would be my only minor concern. Getting back to Steel Domain, it's like they're one of the promotions that kind of run storylines and want to evolve from month to month. And it's kind of hard to start, maybe pushing somebody or focusing on somebody and realizing, well, next month they've already committed to so-and-so. And that's great. We're independent contractors. If you make a commitment, first come, first serve, however you want to look at it. But just the continuity of making things go from month to month with a promotion, it's kind of hard to do when you're getting pulled 14 different ways and having that many options, which is a good thing to have. Don't get me wrong, but it kind of can be a negative in a way too.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
According to Golden Gate, the shirt joke was messed up, but I don't know what that was all about, inside stuff here. Anyways, back to our regularly scheduled program. What's going on?
So, Jay, do you have any Horace the Psychopath stories you want to tell us?
I love Johnny. I think the world of Johnny. I just got a chance to see him between Christmas and New Year's. And I was so excited and so pumped that Mitch finally, got him to commit to come back for a show. And I haven't talked to him since. Somebody said he might have had a COVID issue or whatever. But I don't really have stories per se. Just the appreciation for his drive, his energy, the way he can just command the ring and get over and do his thing, and the longevity. He's kind of he's a calmer demeanor, but he's always thinking. He's always, he wants things to be right and be perfect. And just the miles we've traveled, the beers we've tipped. I love the guy. I really, there's probably 4 guys in this business that I can go months, if not years, without talking, and we can just sit down and just like it, we never left off. And he's definitely one of them, one of my all-time favorite people. And that's one thing I've been blessed and fortunate with this business. Just not to just be in it, but just to have the connections that I do. I mean, I look at my Facebook friends or connections, and I'd say 80+% are wrestling related. So that just
Right.
tells you what
Yeah.
this business
Yeah.
has done for me. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah, Horace is definitely one of them guys. If you've never seen Horace the Psychopath before, Jaron, if you get a chance to see him, he's dynamite. He does everything to entertain.
And there's got to be,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's got you Google Horace. I'm sure there'll be all kinds of stuff that from the past that's in the can that you can check out. But yeah, I hope this works out. I hope he gets out there and is able to do his thing. And I want to at least, if not be in the ring, I'd love to be there to watch it.
Yeah,
Right,
definitely.
Yeah, I actually haven't. I mean, I think I've heard of him a few times and I've seen pictures, but I haven't gone back to see any of his matches. But I've heard he is pretty good, though.
I'd
You
say
can
he's
check
probably,
him out on YouTube.
yeah, I'm sure he's one of the guys that never had that, break, never really went nationally. I think he had a little something when TNA first started with Jarrett, but he's one of these guys that I thought probably had what it took to be on a national scale, that for whatever reason it didn't work out, but we're lucky to have him here.
Right. Yeah. I really should go back and watch his stuff. I think I've maybe looked it up once and just like scanned it, but yeah, it would be cool just to go back and watch some of those old matches. And I know he's had matches with Mitch Paradise, so yeah.
I think he's been in there with just about everybody over the years, and I'm sure they could all tell you some pretty good stories.
Definitely. He would be one to try to get on the show, Jaron, to pick his brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'd be a great guest. He'd definitely be a good guy to talk to. You get a heck of a lot more rub out of him than you are me.
Well, you're doing good so far.
I know. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm Mr. Self-Deprecation if you haven't figured that out. Got to be as a referee, right?
Yeah. It's still good to have anyone just involved in any kind of wrestling or anything in wrestling, just referees, wrestlers, owners, photographers, because they all make the show what it is. So
that's for sure. The show is only, like any endeavor, the show is only as strong as your weakest link, and any kind of support that doesn't involve the production or in ring, like you guys with this podcast or just sharing events on social media or whatever, the more we can spread the word and let people know, the better the support, and hopefully we can just keep this thing moving in the right direction and get more crowds and put COVID in the rear view and get things back to as normal as they're ever going to be.
Yeah, this COVID thing has really kind of messed that up for everybody.
Yeah, but it's I think I went almost a year, maybe a little bit more than a year, without doing anything wrestling related. And the other night, I don't think you were there, Jesse. I think you were there, Jaron, in Bloomington. It was that place was packed. I've never seen that many people there. So everybody's got their philosophy, and I'm taught to 10 different people, you get 11 different answers. But just be safe. If you can come out and support it, great. If not, do it when you're willing to, and everybody's going to take the precautions necessary. And like I say, hopefully
just hold on, Jaron.
Hopefully, the worst of it's behind us, but hopefully we'll avoid another shutdown. And the nice thing now with summer kind of easing towards us, we'll have more outdoor shows. So that generally puts the fear to bed a little bit. So nice lampshade. Is that what we're looking at there? Horace could work the lampshade and make the lampshade look good. We'll get back to Horace there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a great show at the Bloomington Center that night, and it was it was great to see just the collab show. well, they've only done 2 shows, but it was cool that I've been to both. And it was supposed to be last or in 2020, no,
Hey,
2021.
Jaron.
They're supposed to have it, but yeah.
Hey, Jaron,
What's
I
up?
had something come up. My mother-in-law's home right now, so I'm going to let you finish up this interview, and then I
Oh,
will talk with you guys later.
All righty. Thank you, Jesse. Have a good
okay.
evening.
All
Yes,
right.
you
I'll talk
too.
to you later,
Jaron,
Jeff.
I'll get a hold of you later.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
It was kind of a unique endeavor.
All right.
Like you said, they did it a couple years ago. And I guess the indie wrestling scene needs all the support it can get. And you can fight and say, oh, we're not going to get along, or you can't work there, you only can work here. And when two promotions that are successful promotions can, hey, let's work this out, let's see what we can do here. And to see that kind of crowd was amazing. It was a good show, and hopefully other places will be able to coexist. And just when shows like that happen, everybody wins. The fans win, the promoters win, the wrestlers win, everybody involved. And I thought it was a positive, a win-win all the way around. And hopefully there'll be less politics and more, wrestling unity, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And I just want to, I want to say too, like it was cool to have the 2 groups together to make a bigger show. But I know most of it could have been from MAW and Brutus Beefcake, but I mean, I still do want to hopefully see that Steel Domain gets up to those big crowds again, because a few years ago it was just intense and it was so busy, or it was just packed crowds. And I just hope that Steel Domain itself can get to that point again. So.
Yeah, I mean, the shows are hit and miss. You never know. I mean, they book like I say, sometimes they're going in one direction and all of a sudden so-and-so is not there. I know a couple months ago I missed a show. Craven missed a show. We both had COVID scares the day of the show. So there's just things that you can't control, and that probably doesn't help with the continuity and the building and the storylines and blah, blah, blah. But, they've had some real solid houses. Some of their summer festival shows. I mean, I did Lakeville for the first time this past summer, and there was just a sea of people. So, yeah, I mean, we know, I'm not talking from a promoter standpoint, but as a referee and the promoters, you never know. You think, oh my God, I got the greatest card, or the weather's perfect. And there's just, this is the most unpredictable business, I think, that I'm ever aware of. You put forth all your right intentions, and you got the stars all aligned, and it's like, what the hell happened? And it can be the opposite too. Well, it's probably going to be a slow night. The weather sucks. And whoa, look at this. We had 100 more people than we would have expected. So, but yeah, I think the effort and the mindset is there. And like I say, with any support any promotion can get, like I say, with what you're doing and anything on social media. I mean, it used to be in the old days, you'd hang posters, which I don't know that would work real well these days, maybe close to the vicinity, but social media, word of mouth, these podcasts, any kind of support to promote the product is awesome and much appreciated.
Yeah. I've always, since I've gone to the first Under the Big Top 1 in Newmarket like 5 years ago now, I've just wanted to get involved or be some kind of a part in the Minnesota indie wrestling territory and just promote it as much as I can, because it's honestly a lot more fun than watching like a Monday Night Raw or sometimes Dynamite. So just more engaged and more fun to watch. So.
Well, yeah, being there. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, it's nothing against television. That it's convenient to sit home and whatever, but just to be there and see the people and feel the crowd and just be a part of it. And and it's a smaller scale. Obviously, if you go to AEW or whatever, you're probably not going to get a chance to chat with or directly. You can buy their merch, but they're not going to be sitting there taking a picture with you or signing it or whatever. So it's just, you know, more of a grassroots level, a more approachable level. And, you know, it's great. Any time people want to come out and support it or try to be involved, you know, we're thrilled to have you.
Right, right. Yeah, I was talking to the Below Zero Wrestling owner a couple days ago, or no, it was a couple weeks ago now, about just how he has the wrestlers and the audience just having that interaction is just important, and that also gets the fans more interested into the event, and so that they keep coming back again and again. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about, you know, the interaction with the people and creating the memories, and you know, it helps for the wrestlers itself. You know, if they can maybe sell some extra merch, that helps. I mean, nobody's you know, going to retire on independent wrestling payoff. So every nickel counts, and all the support is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think over the I remember, I think it was before COVID. I remember I bought like a shirt, at like at least one shirt at every single wrestling event, and now I just got like a big pile. It's got to be like, what was it, 30 or 40 shirts now? I'm like,
Wow, that's
it's just
thanks for
insane.
supporting the cause, I'm sure, and I know, and I hope when you're doing this that the talent itself is, you know, showing appreciation, because they should. You know, that's very nice of you to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, most of the wrestlers' paychecks are merch, and it's just it is important just to support them, or even support them on social media and post a picture about them or something. So
And
just anyway,
all of the above. Yeah, any and all support and exposure for everybody is great. You know, it's a win-win. We all want to keep doing this and see it be as successful as possible. Me personally, whether I'm directly involved on a show or a promotion, you know, it's good to see other people succeed. And you know, I got probably not as much skin in the game as a wrestler or promoter, as a referee that I am, but you know, I just want people. You want this business to thrive and survive and keep growing, and it's just anything anybody can do to make that happen is great.
right? Yeah, I really want to see indie wrestling in Minnesota keep getting bigger, because it's just gotten huge over the years. So, and it is a good thing just to have too, like even for people that aren't wrestling fans, like they could become easily wrestling fans just watching the live event, and then do something fun on a weekend. So
Well, that's
yeah.
just it. You know, I'm sure everybody's probably watched Raw or AEW at some point, but hey, come and check this out. You know, whether they liked it or not, come and check this out. And wow, you know, they might get hooked on it. And like I said, the proximity, you're so much closer, and you can actually interact with a lot of the wrestlers and stuff. And that just is something you can't get watching it on TV. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, MAW, I think, is really starting to explode, and First is always, you know, had a good crowd where they're going, and there are a lot of promotions that are either, you know, kind of staying where they're at and maybe expanding, and some that just seem to like everything they touch is gold. But you know, I think it's getting stronger right now, and the biggest issue is COVID. I hate to keep going back to that, but I mean, I can't imagine if COVID hadn't reared its ugly head a couple of years ago, where we'd be. But at the same time, maybe just hitting the reset button too gives, you know, some of the wrestlers a little bit of a physical break, and maybe even the fans a little bit of a break. And now, like I say, getting back to last week in Bloomington and these other shows, it's hopefully just going to continue to snowball and get bigger.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it is. But back to the like MAW and First Wrestling, I would say that those are probably like the WWE and AEW of Minnesota. They've just drawn so many crowds, and the numbers of the numbers, and then the big time stars that they bring into wrestling is pretty incredible. So.
Yeah, a lot of it's the effort of the promoters. A lot of it is having sponsors. I mean, that the sponsorship. I mean, when you can find decent sponsors, that obviously helps not having to worry about what you're getting at the gate. So, but yeah, all these guys are busting their ass. I'm not going to take anything away from any of these guys. And the harder you work, you know, hopefully that'll show up in success. And but I think those two are extremely successful right now, and there's some others that are, doing their best to keep pace.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that there are like disagreements between owners and companies, but at the end of the day, it's still they're trying to put on a product and a show that entertains the crowd and gets them hyped to see more wrestling and grow wrestling. So
yeah, I think at the end of the day, you want your talent to be taken care of, financially as well as physically. And you want to, come back again next time, get something set up, keep this moving. And you want the crowd to walk away not only satisfied, but, oh my God, I'm coming back, I'm bringing a friend, and you just want to keep the momentum positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then also like on the travel aspect, like they're traveling up and across the Midwest area. Like I saw, like the system on the 23rd, he was in Fargo, North Dakota. And then on the 29th, he was in Bloomington, Minnesota. And it's just crazy to see how far they're willing to travel and a lot of the traveling time that they do. Because I traveled like, was it 3 hours to Bloomington from where I am? And it's just a lot of driving for me. So it's cool that they have that dedication to going to different companies and towns and states. So
yeah, to kind of, expand their repertoire or their resume, get seen in different areas. And it's that's how you kind of network. You get out, and if you get too comfortable in one area, and some people don't want to leave an area, and that's fine too. But the more you branch out, the more you see what other people are doing, and open the ears and soak it all in. And it's the more exposure, the more positive exposure you can get for yourself, it should benefit you in the long run. So yeah, there's all kinds of promotions in town and in the Twin City area, as well as on the outskirts. I remember, when I was first getting started, it seemed like there was never a show in town. We were always traveling 2, 3, 4 hours, and now I can't remember the last time I traveled more than an hour, which that's fine too. So, but I guess it just basically, if you want to succeed as a wrestler or in this business, you can't be lazy. You got to see your opportunity. And maybe if you drive 2, 3 hours, obviously you're probably not going to make as much money, but in the long term, it's an investment. It's an investment of your time and your character, and hopefully that'll pay off down the road.
Yeah, it's all about self-promotion, and every time you go to another company or territory, you're promoting yourself to get the word out so you can go to more events, and the more events you go to, it's going to help you financially, I guess, gain that money back from the traveling. So
exactly. And some promoter oh my gosh, this guy was great, and he's looking for a reference. It just kind of can be kind of a big network. And now with social media, that helps. Back in the day, that wasn't the case. You kind of almost had to go word of mouth and stuff, but now there's definitely that advantage too.
Right. Yeah. I think let's start off or go with another question now. So what did I say? I want to say, like, so there is a completely new roster of people now compared to like 4 years ago, and I just want to know, like, you think the Steel Domain wrestlers from like the past generation, just aka like before 2020, could return, like the Danny Duggins and Ricky Loves and AJ Smooths?
As far as I know, they're all still active. I don't know that for a fact. I think the Canada COVID border situation. I thought I heard Duggan was back living in the States now. Don't quote me on that. AJ Sanchez, another guy from up there who I just thought the world of. A hell of a worker, a great locker room guy. I think Love might have had a kid recently. Don't quote me on that. So I think, I don't know that I can't speak for Ed and Mark, but I don't think there's anybody like, we're never going to use that guy again. I think it's just availability. And, a lot of these guys like Smooth and Love that are coming up from Iowa, they're kind of, especially Smooth is probably wrapping up his career, and maybe it's just more comfortable at this point just to stay home and not travel. I can't speak for anybody, but I think sometimes I don't think it's the promoter that says, oh, you know, this guy, because they were all great talents. It's just what's going to work best for that given talent at the time. And that would be probably the issue more so than can they come back. It's just, is it a good time for them to come back? But I'd love to see any of these guys. Love to see any of them come back in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is important that like they are still doing shows even though it's not here. But it was just kind of weird. Like you had this entire roster of wrestlers, and then COVID hit, and then shows are back now, and there's a complete new roster. And maybe there are fans that kind of missed that or missed the older generation Steel Domain wrestlers before COVID hit. So it's just kind of something that I think about, and I haven't talked to any of those guys before ever, but I mean I just remember that they were a big time wrestlers, and especially with like Ricky Love, I honestly don't know what he's doing. He posts like sometimes on social media, but I remember he was just a great character a couple years ago. So Steel Domain.
Yeah, he's a great talent in the ring, good guy to BS with and back. And yeah, I think that's the whole thing. We got kind of pre-COVID, after COVID, and there's a lot of people that I haven't, you know, I don't stay in touch with people away from the shows pretty much as it is. But I mean, now that we're kind of getting back and going again, there's a lot of people. It's been a couple years since I've had any kind of interaction. So yes, you can just hope they're all healthy and well. And if they're still involved with the business, great. If not, well, I hope they're satisfied with, you know, how they went out and took it home. And you know, if our paths cross again, great. And wish everybody all the best. And it'd be nice to see some of these back if and when the time's right for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And then, yeah. So recently, I was looking through your Facebook, and it was like 5 years ago in 2016, you took a picture with Baron von Raschke at the Claw, and I just wanted to know your thoughts about when you met him that day.
I've actually known Baron for, I don't even know. It's been, I guess just to take that one step further back. I mean, I grew up on the AWA. You know, I was addicted to that stuff as a kid, and just to as I got involved in the business, just to be able to meet the Nick Bockwinkel's, the Bobby Heenans, the Barons, the Mad Dogs, it's just an added bonus to you know, just being a part of this crazy business. So they've all been great. You know, Kenny J used to have a fundraiser every year, and a lot of these guys would show up and give their time, and just they're just such, you know, you see these people on TV and they kind of scare the crap out of you, and you get to know them in real life, and it's always been a pleasure to meet any legend, and I don't think I've ever had a bad experience with anybody, and Baron was as good as all of them.
Right. Yeah, it was cool, and it was especially cool to see him on the screen at AEW Full Gear in Minneapolis.
I saw that. You know, it was nice that they gave him a spot. That was cool. I think Jericho got that set up.
Yeah. Then doing the Claw on Ethan Page, and it's cool to have that segment in there. Because we didn't even know if the Full Gear was going to be in Minnesota. It was supposed to be in another state, but it's cool that we were able to get that opportunity.
Yeah, they had the doubleheader. They had Friday, Saturday, and I don't know about Friday, but I heard Saturday sold out. So, but yeah, it was great to see. Anytime you see Baron, and you know, I think they just did kind of a documentary not too long ago, so he's kind of as popular now as he was back in the day.
Yeah. I think they did like a video of him after the show or something. I watched that, so it's pretty cool just to see that and see him in the Target Center. So yeah,
well deserved. He's a great guy.
Right. And also, so another question. I know for sure I've always known you as being the Steel Domain Wrestling referee, but I know you said you started in like '95. So what other companies have you worked for?
Oh, I think about anyone that doesn't have the initial Q in it. Does that answer the question? No, that's okay. Let's. Geez, you're really gonna tap into my old brain here. NPW was kind of where I first got started. Worked for a while with AWF. Ken and Adnan, Patera and Adnan ran. They started calling it the AWA, but then I think they had to call it the WAWA just for trademarks. So I worked with them for a while. Steel Domain, Dale Gagne kind of also did an AWA version. FLWA, I've been with them as long as anybody as far as reffing, and that's where I do probably more ring announcing. PWA, I haven't worked for Terry for a while, but I have worked for MIW. HOW, how can I forget about those guys? Loved working for those guys. They ran the bigger shows, more so based out of Duluth and stuff, but they were a big one. Steel Domain, I think we've touched on that a few times. I might be missing a few, but that's the gist of it, and they've all been good. No complaints whatsoever. All been a good experience. Some traveling, some local. It's all been wonderful. It's all coming out in the book. There will be no.
Yeah. I think I know it's not much in your area, but since I moved, AWF is coming to the Fargo, North Dakota area again, and I'm gonna be going to that, and that'll be my first AWF show. So it's cool to hear your experience and then go and see what it's about. I've always seen their videos, but just never been to it, and they always travel so far. So
I've been out of the loop with them for a few years, but when I was with them, it was kind of a little bit different atmosphere, but it was well. And at the time they were taking pretty good care of the talent, and that changed. And that's maybe why you see more of a revolving door, maybe more newer, less experienced wrestlers, which isn't a bad thing. But I'll give Todd all the credit in the world. He's been doing this forever, and I think it's his only or main source of income. He quit his full-time job, so he must be doing something right. And a lot of times you see shows with some of the recognizable talent and maybe even a national name or a legend, and sometimes you'll see more of the local guys. But it's hard to knock him. He's been doing this for 20 plus years, and I don't think there's any end in sight. So check it out and form your opinion. And I think there's opportunities closer than Fargo, but if that's what's going to work for you, then go for it.
It definitely is a lot harder up here. I've got in this area. I've gone to, because I'm in the Moorhead Fargo area.
Oh, that's where you're at right now. Okay, I didn't realize that's where you're going to school.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm thinking you're closer to Minneapolis. I'm sorry. So there you go.
I guess. I moved up to the Moorhead Fargo area, and was it August, and I was always used to the Minneapolis area, and there were so many shows down in that area. And then I moved up here. I've gone to like at least 3 or 4, and it's been like 6 months or something. So it's a little slower up here, but at least I've checked out some new stuff. So
I think Josh Price, he's up in Thief River Falls, which I know is still kind of a hike, but it's kind of up that way. So I don't know when he's running again, but that's an option for you if and he uses some of the talent I've seen on his posters and ads. It's a lot of recognizable names, so that might be an option if it works out for you.
I've looked at some of his stuff, and it is something that I do want to do eventually. I guess the entire goal is just to see any new companies now, because since I've been to so many over the years. So
please do. On any and all support, and there's always going to be an open seat, so please fill it.
We want to pack out the shows as much as you can, because I know there's always so many empty seats in these events, and I wish it would get at least more packed. I mean, it would be a little cramped, but I mean, it would obviously help the wrestlers and the promoters. So,
Oh yeah, every dollar counts. That's for sure.
right, yeah. I know I've gone to up in this area. I've gone to Below Zero Wrestling and then Time Bomb Pro Wrestling. So
Okay.
it's been, yeah. Time Bomb I mean, I've seen like on TV Extreme Wrestling, but when I went to go see it in person, it was definitely a lot different than the indie wrestling that I've seen. So it's interesting to see just different styles and everything of wrestling. So.
Yeah, and that's one nice thing too. You kind of mix it up and you kind of see what you like and what you don't like and something different. And they're obviously have their following as well. And it's just another option out there. And people, it's good to have options, right? Good to have choices.
Yeah, that's just the thing now. Just so many choices with MAW first, Steel Domain, Below Zero, and MIW. It's just so many events, and like you said before, there's like so many events on weekends and so many decisions. But also, I mean, it could take away from the part, but as long as we have something now, so
Yeah, it's better to have too many than none. That's for sure. So.
Yeah, because I think I started using social media really when I got I got my first phone in like when I was like 17 and got on social media just mainly for the wrestling purpose, and then just looked up all these companies. I'm like, what, they're all in this area I never knew, and because I think I've only, before I got social media, I went to just under the big top and Steel Domains, so just the word of social media, just seeing that is cool to get more used to the different companies and everything. So
yeah, the promotions and the talent itself to kind of keep track of where everybody is. Yeah, it's good to see you. Now you bring up under the big top, and I know Mitch started actually promoting, I don't know if they're monthly shows, but he would always do that annual show in down wherever that was. Elko Newmarket, I think it is in that area. But now I see he's in Montgomery running shows. So, and that's another option. It's kind of nice that it's south of the cities. He's not really stepping on anybody's toes in directly in the metro area, and people may be coming up from the south or wherever. So, another good option. I've heard good things about his shows, and hopefully that'll succeed too. He's a great guy.
Yeah, that was a surprising thing. Like the first time I saw when they posted about it, it was just like, well, Mitch Paradise has been doing developing a company now, which I mean, it kind of probably explains why he hasn't done as many shows. But now I kind of see why, because he's been working on Paradise City Wrestling, and now we got a new alternative to another wrestling. So.
Yep. Yeah, he hasn't been as been on. I haven't seen him wrestle. I haven't haven't refereed any of his matches, I don't think, since COVID, because I think this has all kind of started to flourish since then. So, but he's always a good guy to be around, good locker room guy and a smart guy. So I'm sure this venture is going to succeed for him, and hopefully he'll still pick up some other indies along the way. And as a referee and as a fan, hopefully we'll get a chance to see him.
Yeah, I know. First, I think he's scheduled to be at MAW in Turtle Lake, which is like the first indie show besides his company that I've seen him advertised since like maybe June or something. So
okay, well, awesome.
Yeah,
good deal.
Yes, he's doing something.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think and he's a family guy. He runs a canine business and stuff, so he's got his hands full, and he knows what he's doing. I think he's been doing this for a while, so I'm sure he's at the point where he can pick and choose his spots, and he's pretty smart about what he's doing and how he goes about it.
Yeah, he definitely is getting 25, or it's got to be longer years now. So yeah, he's definitely been in the business. So
I'd say right around 2009, late 90s. He's big boy then. He's big boy now.
Yeah.
Not as much hair. But it's not because it fell out; it's because he shaved his head. Unlike
Yeah.
most of us, you just lose your hair or turns gray or all the above. But.
Yeah, especially just like his transformation. I don't know exactly when he got the mohawk, but it was cool to going back and seeing old photos. He had this long hair, and then he went bald, and now he's got the mohawks. So he's gone through a lot of hair changes and this gimmick changes. So now he's got something that works.
Keeping it fresh. That's kind of what you got to do in this business.
Yeah. Then like speaking of other wrestlers, like who are your top wrestlers that you like working with or just like in general in Minnesota?
Who are talents that I'm impressed with? Let's just put in
that's a good way to put it.
Backhanded way to answer your question, but I mean, like right now, Craven Knight, I'm really impressed. I mean, he's been around for a while, but I mean, just he's got the size, he's got the look. There's really nothing he can't do in the ring, and what's impressed me lately, his mic skills are coming around. He wasn't really known as a promo guy, but he's real solid on the mic, well conditioned. I mean, we're in there, and he's not blowing up. He's not huffing and puffing, and he's still moving, a mile a minute. So he's a great talent. The system, another young guy. The promos, I haven't seen any lately, but when he'd be doing these, I don't even know how he does them, but with the violin and the cutting back and forth on just the promos and his mic skills and his in-ring talent. Very impressed with Darren Corbin. I haven't seen him for a while, but he's one of these guys. He's been around for a while, and he can get more for less. And that's what I love about the guy, that he doesn't have to, and he's capable of, beating the hell out of somebody or getting the hell beaten out of himself, but he can work the crowd and have a good match and not necessarily, have to get all bloody or flippity floppity but it's about engaging the crowd and just I'm impressed with the way he goes about things. Mitch, we've talked about him, hell of a talent, hell of a locker room guy and back. Garrison Creed, another guy coming in, he just started coming up here pre-COVID and just takes great care of himself, great matches, easy guy to deal with and back. Oh boy, if I start leaving people out, I'm gonna get in trouble here. I'll give you one that you might not even be familiar with, and this is probably going to be a curveball, but Spider Baby. You're familiar with him?
I've heard of him a little bit, and I've seen him once, but I don't know too much about him. So
he once again, you're probably not going to get this 5-star. Oh my God, the critics love it match out of him. But I've always liked the guy that's had some size, that can move around. He can, he'll do top rope stuff, and I think he just gets a bad rap because of his sexual orientation, which I just, God, that's I don't know, but he's a solid guy, and he's been doing this forever, and just a great performer, and it's maybe a unique performer, but that's fine. You got 5-6 matches, you kind of want a little bit of everything. AJ Sanchez, I think I mentioned him earlier, another guy, a big guy that can move and great matches. You can do comedy, so that's a few for you. I don't know.
That is
start leaving people out or whatever, and it's like, hey, why didn't you bring me up? But those are some guys that if I was paying money, or if I was at a show and they were on the show, I'd be thrilled to watch them, and that's probably the best answer I can give you without doing a little homework. Who am I forgetting here? As soon as we get done with us, we'll be like, oh Christ, I forgot to mention so and so.
Yeah, that you could probably go on for hours just about all
that's
years. There's just so much, and then going back to the older talent in early 2000s, and there's just I know that like Minnesota was like a big wrestling state, but then when you get into the indie wrestling and start thinking about that more, it is just cool to see how many talents that there actually are. So
Well, I mean, two of the biggest ones would probably be Sean Waltman, Lightning Kid, and Jerry Lynn. I mean, once again, they were doing, indie shows. I mean, Sean came up from Florida. I think he was 15. He could have actually slid right through a garden hose. Even there was just nothing, skin and bones. And who is this acne faced kid? Well, all of a sudden, 2 years, 3 years later, he's on Raw, and the rest is history. So. Yeah, I mean, Eddie Sharkey training, this was before my time, but, the Road Warriors and Rick Rude and Kurt Hennig and Darso and, all the guys he trained. So there's been a lot of talent that's evolved over the years. And, lately it's been the Williams brothers, Thorif, he's been gone for a while, but he had a good run. The Davaris, I mean, there are some recent examples of guys that started off, in legions or high school gyms that, got that break, and well deserved. Some guys don't get that break, or some guys don't want that break. They're content. I think Mitch Paradise would fall in that category. He's content, doing this on the weekends and being a family man, and that's fine too. But yeah, just to me, just to see guys that have started at the indie level that have, made it to that national stage and been successful. Ken Anderson, I guess, would be another one, but it's just, wow, Punk, gone and on with people that have came through this state that have gone on to bigger and better things.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, as long as the wrestler is satisfied with where they are, it's a win for them and a win for the audience. So. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there was one wrestler too. I just remember that how fast he grew up into the business. But like Brandon Gore, the first time I saw him was at the Richfield Legion when they were there. So
there's another one.
Yeah.
Back to a couple. That's another guy I should have brought up. Another guy who's just his drop kicks are amazing. I just I don't know. It's just, but yeah, another real solid. I haven't seen him for a while. I don't know. Somebody said he was maybe getting some shots with AEW, but yeah, another guy. I think he was an academy guy, and he's got the look, and he's got the skills, and yeah, it's another guy that I'm very happy for and very impressed with.
Yeah, he grew up so, or I don't know if that's the word, but like he rose so far up into the business super fast, and starting in 2017 and Steel Domain, and now doing some AEW dark stuff and becoming world champion in a couple promotions. So yeah, he's definitely done a lot. So
yeah, and I think a lot of this, can be traced back to the academy, just how well these people were trained, and more fresh talent on the local scene, and more chances, and there's more opportunities now. I mean, there is AEW, and I heard the Ring of Honor is on hiatus or something, but I mean, there basically back in the day, it was essentially WWE and WCW, but I mean, now there's more national promotions, and there's more opportunity, and it's good to see some of these guys getting the shots.
Yeah, and definitely it is cool to have the alternatives, and the academy has done a lot for wrestling, and I know they are a little under fire right now, but I mean, at the end of the day, they've always done something good for the wrestling in Minnesota. So,
and they will. I mean, COVID's COVID, and you got to navigate it. And when the time is right, I have all the confidence that this will be back up and running, and we'll be talking about some more superstars we never heard of before that were trained with Ken and whoever he has helping them, and people get out of the business, whether they get old, they get hurt, they don't like it anymore, and we need fresh new bodies and talent, and it's good to have that institution in order to produce some of these people, and it'll happen. I'm sure it will.
Yeah, speaking of like new guys and rookies, Rampage Santana, he's on his I think second year of wrestling now, or second or third. So he's another. I kind of he's kind of similar in the Brandon Gore's perspective, like kind of both had the same start. They got the amateur background, and they've just like risen so up into popularity, and they've been really good. And yeah, Rampage has done a lot of shows, traveling across the Midwest and everything, and come kind of friends with him now, and he is a really good guy and great wrestler. So
I've worked with him a couple times. I got nothing bad to say about him. He's been cooling back, and is in the ring. He's been fine. And that's another thing too. When you're scrolling through, say, Facebook, and you see all these various posters for these promotions, if you can constantly see him or anybody, it's like, well, obviously they're getting booked. Which, and even if maybe the money's not that great, just getting the exposure and the experience, that's kind of, as we say, paying your dues. So yeah, I mean, I think he's another one of these guys that down the road he could be saying, wow, look at he finally got his shot. So
yeah, I've kind of joked about it with him too. I'm like, I just see you everywhere every time I go to a show. I'm like, oh, Rampage is on the card again.
Yeah. I mean, you got to hone your craft, and there's no better way to do it. I mean, you can work out before a show or wherever, but I mean, it's to get in front of that live audience. That's kind of, where you're going to gain your experience. So.
Right. And then, yeah, it was cool to see how he debuted for Steel Domain. Because I think he replaced Aaron Corbin for some maybe a medical issue or something. So
yeah, I think it was kind of a last minute thing as part of a tag a few months back. But yeah, I mean, he's Ed's not going to use people unless he either has seen them and is impressed with them, or he's been given a very good word from somebody. And the fact that he's been back, obviously they're happy with him.
Yeah, and I did hear that like Ed could have been part of the reason, but he did get a good word from Eddie Sharkey, because I heard from someone that like Eddie Sharkey said, this guy's gonna be a world champion. He's like the greatest wrestler of all time right now. So yeah, Eddie likes to hype up wrestlers. So
yeah, Eddie's Eddie. I love Eddie. It was good guy. It's good to see him the other night. Eddie usually shows up at the Steel Domain shows, and it's always he's a legend. I mean, he's the godfather of Minnesota independent wrestling, and anytime you can get in his have a conversation with him and have a few laughs and maybe a brandy, it's always a good night.
Yeah, it was cool. Like, a few months ago now, a friend in the wrestling community, Ryan George, he knows a lot of wrestlers, and he's a pretty good friend. I would say probably best. He says he and Eddie both say that they are best friends. So Ryan and Eddie, Ryan had invited me to have dinner with Eddie, and all three of us just had a dinner. And I was like, this is cool. I'm talking with like a pro wrestling legend who's trained all these guys, and then also had a great wrestling career back in the 60s and 70s. So
yeah, I'm sure stories. I'm surprised he doesn't have a book.
You should have a book for sure.
Even the stuff that wasn't in wrestling and related, there's some pretty good Eddie stories. But that must have been quite an experience. Eddie's a great guy. I always enjoyed being around Eddie.
Yeah, it was really cool, and he gave me some of his old, I think, promotional papers or posters from his I think it PWA.
Yep, Pro Wrestling America. Yep. That's what got me back in George's and Roper's and Fridley. That was kind of what got the ball rolling for me back in the 80s.
Yeah. That was I think I've gone back to just see a little bit of his stuff, and I think I might have watched one match of his, but he definitely has done a lot of good in the wrestling territories in the state and probably the country. So
oh yeah, as far away as Japan. I mean, he's a legend. He's did a lot for this business, that's for sure. Not just locally.
Right. Yeah, and it's now I think through COVID and these past few years, it is kind of sad that we've had to lose like Road Warrior Animal and some other guys that he's trained. So
yeah, it's unfortunately a lot of the guys I rattled off earlier, a lot of them aren't with us anymore. But it is unfortunate, and you just take care of yourself, and hopefully we'll live to see another day. But it's, it's just a part of life. Sometimes people die young and they shock us, and some people you can see it coming from a mile away, and some people it's like, whoa. But yeah, make the most of it, right, my friend?
Right. Yeah. Just gotta make the most of your career and just your entire life. So I believe that Road Warrior Animal and all these guys that have gone have definitely done a lot of good in the wrestling world and just in life, and how they inspired all these wrestlers that are in the indies for Minnesota. So yeah.
That is for sure. A lot of people, he was a legend. A lot of people looked up to him. I met him a few times at shows and various other events, and he was always a great guy. It's a funny thing. I mean, he was the guy that took care of himself. Hawk didn't really take care of himself, and it was sad to see him go several years ago. But Animal kind of, I wouldn't really saw that coming. But once again, it's just, you never know. Nothing's guaranteed, right?
Right. Yeah, making the best of opportunities, and I believe that that's what most of the wrestlers today are doing, and it's just good that there's just so much going on, and as good as like wrestling's getting now, and as many companies as there is, I think it is important just to remember the past because they did help build all of this. So yeah,
that's just it. There's people that paved the way for where we're at now, and you gotta respect that, appreciate that, acknowledge that, and just give it your best and have some pride and make them proud and keep it moving. I mean, everybody has to get out at some point, and let the next people step in and keep things rolling along. So
yeah. Well, yeah, I think that is a good point. Like, that is a good point. Just remembering the past, and I think all of us should. So, yeah. But yeah, I think I don't know that you did pretty much answer all my questions. I made like 13 of them, and we kind of just answered questions through another question. So yeah, definitely was good to learn more about you. And after no, I've kind of been like a fan of your work for Steel Domain because it's cool. Like, hey, Jason, this again. So
wow, well, I
yeah,
got one fan. After 30 years, I got one fan. You got to start somewhere.
right. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, thank you. Thanks for all you guys do. I know we lost Jesse a while back here, but to say this one more time, any kind of exposure, promotion, word of mouth, anything to let people know what's going on is much appreciated from a referee, from a promoter, from a wrestler, the venue, anybody that stands to succeed. We can't get enough word of mouth and exposure. So please continue to do that. And I see you do action figures. So all the best with that endeavor and your school. And please keep supporting this crazy business.
Yeah. Thank you.
All righty.
Definitely do want a lot of stuff. So yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, hopefully we'll see you out there sooner than later. And in the meantime, take care.
Yeah. Oh, just one more thing though. Like, so you're gonna be at the Steel Domain on the 25th? Then that's where people can see you next, or
no,
I
don't want people buying tickets to see me that night because I'm not going to be there. That was sarcasm, by the way. No, I'm actually supposed to be seeing Metallica in Vegas that night. So,
you are okay.
But yeah, so I will not be there. I think Robbie is going to be filling in for me. He was there the other night. He's a hell of a referee. So things will go swimmingly without me. So bring your ref shirt if you're there. Maybe they can use you. See, that's all I got.
I was just saying, like, just wanted to promote you in some way. Like, when's the next time we can see you, or if there's like, I don't know if you use social media too much, but
I don't promote myself. I promote the shows and even shows that I'm not on. So I got nothing in February that I'm aware of. But You'll see me soon enough. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see Jay Soltis and some wrestling company and some wrestling events down the line definitely this year. So that's a good
There
way
you
to put
go.
it.
That's the best way to wrap it up. Well, thanks again, Jared.
Yeah.
It's been fun, and keep supporting it, and all the best of success to you and all you do, and Jesse as well.
All right. Thank you. And yep,
Thank
have a
you.
nice night. So,
Thanks. You too.
yep. All right, guys. So that was Steel Domain Wrestling referee Jay Soltis. We got I know Jesse cut out a little bit there, but we were able to talk to him, talk about his mind, and he's been in the wrestling. He's been into wrestling since '87, and then been referee since 1995. So it's very cool to see what he's doing and what he has done. So yeah, I think with that being said, I think we can wrap up the show here. There's a couple, yeah, like I mentioned before, I won't be able to go to this show, but February 25th, Steel Domain Wrestling is going to be back in Bloomington, and then and like I mentioned before, also American Wrestling Federation (AWF) will be in Fargo, North Dakota, and if you're in the area, go to that because I think they get the first time in a while since they've been in that area. So then Time Bomb Pro Wrestling on February 24th in Fargo, North Dakota. And yeah, I always post events on Facebook about what's going on and everything. So if you're able to go to that, go support that and everything. So yeah, I think with that being said, hope you guys have a nice night. And well, actually, I do want to promote one more thing. Believe in a few hours at 9 p.m. State of Pro Wrestling is going to be doing a podcast. It's going to be John Fredrickson's going to be interviewing Rampage Santana, Minnesota rookie here. He's pretty much become a big star now. And then a legend, a legend wrestler, the Mountie, who's wrestled in WWF and a lot of I can't remember if WWF, WCW, and a lot of Stampede wrestling. So he's definitely done a lot of stuff there. So if you want to go check out them, hear about Rampage Santana and John Fredrickson and the Mountie, John Fredrickson's going to do a State of Pro Wrestling podcast at 9 p.m., which is 4 hours from now. So yeah, check that out. And I'm doing my stuff, going to wrestling events, and I do currently right now. I do have some wrestling figures I'm trying to sell. I have I posted on social media, but I have like a custom Ric Flair, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, or not. I had a basic Roman Reigns I want to sell, and then 2 Kurt Angles, just older customs I'm going to sell for school because tuition is not cheap. So yeah, I'm trying to make money for that, and then I also will be doing more Minnesota customs. Like right now, I'm working on a Bono for a wrestler to sell, and then what else? Revising Mr. Anderson for a customer, and sometime down the line, I want to make like Bill Williams or Dominic Guarini. So that definitely will be in the near future, and hopefully you guys can check that stuff out soon. I post a lot of my what you guys are on currently right now on StreamYard or on my Facebook wrestling profile, or for you Instagram viewers. I'm on the Phenomenal Figures on Instagram, so post a lot on there. Recently, I've been posting a lot of past wrestling events that I've gone to, so I have so much footage that I just want to show and support the wrestlers and everything. So yeah, I think with all that being said, we can end the show, and that has been Indie Talk, February 3rd, 2022, featuring Jay Soltis. So have a nice night, everyone, and we'll have more shows announced more podcast shows announced in the future. So stay tuned for that. Bam.